Call the meeting to order. Would you all rise for the national anthem?
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
the United States of America to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was like nervous and I felt like I was back in elementary.
I'm gonna serve milk and cookies for lunch today.
Okay.
All right. Somebody want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approving the minutes from last board meeting. Everybody look them over.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment. Anybody here would like to say something?
Clayton Johnson, Black Hammer Township. Good morning, everyone.
Right?
I have been looking at I believe it's ordinance 18, the shotgun issue. And when I look at it, I see it's very similar to the DNR template language that was sent out to all the counties, with the exception of one thing. Under enforcement, it says the Houston County Sheriff has the authority to enforce the provision of this ordinance within the Houston County. All the other counties put in there the Department of Natural Resources Conservation Officers or game warden. Are they going to be able to enforce that ordinance, the game wardens?
I talked to Mitch William, and last week I had a talk with him, and he says they will be covering it just like normal.
But
They have to.
my question is, the board is in agreement that game wardens can and will enforce this ordinance?
So the, kind of going through, creating the ordinance together, the state DNR can't enforce the county ordinance, write the charge or the violation under county ordinance. They would write it under their state code. So us having, state statute, us having a county ordinance, triggers them to write it under their state statute. So they wouldn't write it under our ordinance, when they fill out, like if you're in violation or illegally using the rifle, the state DNR wouldn't charge you under our ordinance because
State statute.
they can't, they'll charge under state statute. The sheriff is essentially the only one that would charge out of our ordinance. So with that ordinance in place, the state will charge under state statute. That makes sense.
Not really. Not really. It seems very ambiguous. And when I looked up all the other counties that have an ordinance, Brown, Rock, Nobles, Faribault, Dodge, Candiaho, Jackson, Pope, they all used the template, which included the Department of Natural Resources Conservation Officers. All those other counties, followed suit. And I question why it was omitted. Why not have both in there?
Something we can
Because
do.
it's a county ordinance.
I get that.
So
But-
being a county ordinance, the sheriff is in charge of enforcing county ordinances.
I get that, but why?
Like Brent said, that doesn't mean the DNR won't cite you, but it's the sheriff that has the authority
On the ordinance.
Right.
And that was discussed with the DNR, right?
Yeah, right, yep. So either way, it's gonna be enforced.
Either way, it's gonna be forced, and if one of the game wardens comes down and catches me with a rifle, am I gonna get a ticket from him?
But you'll be charged under state statute, not county ordinance.
Okay,
See,
fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough. But my question still remains, how come all the other counties use the template and Houston County did not?
We're not in charge of the other counties.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know why they they use the template. I don't know.
You can understand why I find it odd, you know, that you got how many counties that, you know, follow the template and then Houston County deviates from it, so, it
I don't know
seems,
that it was a purposeful deviation.
There was questions and discussion on who would be able to enforce the ordinance when we passed it, right? And so this is what we came up with to rather than not put in the sheriff's department or the county. Because that didn't,
I mean-
that
the,
template did
the
not.
original template, or like one of the other counties, or the numerous other counties, it includes, I'm just gonna use Dodge County, for example. The Dodge County Sheriff's Office and the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources Conservation Officers have the authority. So they put in both, as did all these other counties. They included both. And I think that, you know,
But they have the authority.
correct, but I
Whether it's
think,
worded or not worded, they still have the authority to uphold the law.
yeah, oh,
Whether
absolutely.
it says it on a piece of paper or not, the law states X, we're required to enforce that. And each officer obviously has officer discretion. That being said, whether it's on the piece of paper or not on the piece of paper, it's still an enforceable statute
By the conservation officer.
by the state conservation officers. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, I mean, I'm fine with that then.
Just because it's not on there doesn't mean they're not gonna enforce it. They will enforce it.
Yeah, Mitch Boyum told me they will be enforcing it. It's the only, he says we have to. The only thing is, we're shotgun, that's the only difference, he says. We go up to Fillmore, it's rifle. He says, we still gotta come down and do all the, like trespassing.
They'll do their job, not worried about that.
Okay, as long as we're all in agreement that the
Yep.
conservation officer can enforce,
I talked to Mitch
They'll
Boyum
be fine.
myself, so
okay.
they had a special meeting on it too, he said, and they all decided that they'd have to enforce Houston County.
Okay. Then, I just want to bring up one other thing. Bear with me here for just a second. I'm really glad that this ordinance got passed. And after you guys had passed it, of course, the Argus had, put a little article in the newspaper about it. And then, of course, you got public comment, and I guarantee you got a lot of negative comments. But so I'd just like to read one, and I think this makes the point that not all people do the right thing. And I'm not gonna mention the person's name. You guys can look it up on the Argus and see it for yourself. Try and stop me, Houston County, multiple exclamation points. I'll be waiting, rifle ready. Wardens better sharpen their eyeglasses and pencil. And then there's an abbreviation for mother, exclamation point, that's like 5 exclamation points. So I'd like to think that most of the people in Houston County are gonna be respectful of everybody else. But this is part of the reason why I think that the shotgun ordinance is necessary, because you got people out there that think it's the Wild Wild West. So I wanna thank you guys for doing the right thing, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Come forward.
Can we have open discussion on this thing, water runoff or how,
And a public hearing on this Minnesota,
can you speak up during that discussion, sir?
yep,
It'll be a public hearing and you'll be able to come up with any comments.
Thank you.
any more public comment? Okay, should we go to public hearing?
Make a motion to go public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're having a public hearing. Brian, you wanna come up? You wanna read about the public hearing, Brent?
Yeah, so the public hearing, this is a public hearing for MS4. MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Ordinance. We had an MS4 audit this last spring. There were some issues that we had that we just need to get in compliance with. This is a state regulation that we have to come up to code on. So an ordinance has been created to make sure that we are in compliance with the state and the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. I'll let Brian kind of talk a little bit about what MS4 is and why we are part of that MS4.
Okay. Yeah, so the Houston County is a part of the MS4 program due to the city of La Crescent being part, or the city of La Crescent area being part of a urbanized area with a population of 50,000 or more people. So Houston County's MS4 area is the urbanized area within Minnesota that encompasses the I guess the urbanized area, which is the city of La Crescent and a small portion of La Crescent Township, just out to Town Hall Road on County 6. So our MS4 area for the counties is just the county right-of-way within those areas. So County 29 up to Winona County line, County 6 out to Town Hall Road, and County 25 out to the city limit. So just that little bit of area. The MS4 ordinance, what it does, it regulates construction projects, post-construction stormwater management, illicit discharge. So if anyone's dumping chemicals onto the roadway or within the right of way into drains, we can enforce that, along with pet waste. So if people are, walking their dogs and not picking up their pet waste, the county can enforce that as well. So that is the primary items within this ordinance. Applies to just that stuff. There's some other stuff the county has on the education side that we need to do for our own staff and educating the public, and reporting, documenting stuff. But the ordinance primarily just affects that right away for those select few items. And these are already laws that are in the book for federal laws, state laws that have all these requirements. This is just a county requirement that, for the most part, mirrors the state requirements.
So were letters sent out to the public that are along?
Yep, so anyone within, I believe, within half a mile of any of these roadways within this area
I think
would
there was like
receive.
1,600.
Yeah, there is,
A lot of letters that went out.
Least.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep, so that goes out to, we also notified the city of La Crescent. I know Amelia has taken, I believe, 4 phone calls from different people asking questions on this. Yeah, a lot of notices. That's just a standard county practice for ordinance, or actually, I don't know, state law, as far as notifications, so.
You hear her all right back there? Okay.
So we can open it up to public comment?
Yeah. Anybody have any questions?
So if you want to come up with a public comment, you could come up.
Now's the time.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time. My name's Tom Reddy. I own the property on 1369 County Highway 6. And I got this letter. I know very little about water runoff. All I know is I got this letter on, I think, Monday or whatever, and it was supposed to be mailed back on Wednesday. Well, nobody can mail a letter back in 2 days, the way the post office has changed their functions. So I couldn't get back to you that way, but I got this letter, and then I even had talked to Brian one day. But I was surprised that I come and go a lot. I travel a lot yet still. And all of a sudden, on the other side of my property, the road was opened up. I had that slowed down a berm because the property that's north of our driveway is called Bluff Drive. And ever since they built those homes up there, all that water comes through my culvert, or the county culvert. So I put berms up on the property to slow it down. And when the fellas came, they made it so it would go open up faster, which was very curious to me why this discussion was for water runoff, and we're going to increase the water runoff off the county road into my property. So I talked to Brian, and they did come back and repaired it back, so hopefully that will slow down. We diked it, or they diked it back out, but it was just on, on the county road. But I want to know from you folks, what is the step 2 of this? You're talking water runoff, because as the city of La Crescent annexed all the property behind us, I get everybody's water. On the backside, I can't even mow it anymore because it never dries off, because it comes down behind Chuck Faust's house, back through that way. I get it across the road, right, right where the fire hydrant, all that stuff. So when you talk water runoff, it seems like they put a sign up, "Come to my property." So is this can help prevent some of that stuff?
Go ahead, Brian.
Want me to answer some of this?
Please, Brian, please.
Yep. So some of this, so with our annual MS4 permit, one of the county requirements that we inspect 20% of the drainage structures annually. And then we have 12 months to go out there and do any repairs. So we actually inspect all of our stormwater instructions every year. I say all every year, but there could be here or there where we don't get it all. But typically we inspect every structure every year. So that culvert that's being talked about, that one on our notes had that is a 30-inch culvert, is 12 inches of sediment in the invert of that culvert, because with how the water was being held up as the water exited the culvert, the sediment was settling out and it was plugging up the pipe.
This is under 6, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So my maintenance staff went out there. They took the sediment out that was causing and moved some material, some rock around so the water can get out. When that happened, Mr. Reddy called up and said he had some concerns with the berm that was put in there being removed, that it was gonna create erosion on the downstream ditch, which he's had problems in the past. And even if you go on to past photos, you can see there was issues just a few years ago on that. So I went out there, I took a look at it, directed my maintenance staff to go out there and put in a rock berm to kind of help filter the water through, slow the water back down, keeping the elevation low enough that the water can still get out of the pipe, hopefully not plug it up with sediment, and called back and left a message. So that issue's been taken care of.
So it's far enough away from the outlet?
Yes, it's probably 30, 40 feet from the outlet.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that there's not gonna be maintenance, this can be done in the future, and if it plugs up again, let me know and I will get my staff back out there to maintain that. Future developments, so part of this, City of La Crescent has a MS4 jurisdiction as well. MnDOT does as well. So there's 3 different permitting agencies. Actually, I believe La Crescent Township is a MS4 township, I believe. Any development or any site that's part of development that has 1 acre or more of disturbance, they do have requirements for future runoff requirements. So they are regulated, so they can't just develop a site without putting in any ponds or having controls in place to reduce the amount of sediment that goes, or the amount of water that goes off. Our ordinance only impacts the county right away. So we only have jurisdiction over the part that's within that county right away. But the city of La Crescent and I believe La Crescent Township and MnDOT, they all have the same requirements. So if there is redevelopment adjacent to County 6 that would increase the runoff, they would have not only requirements in place for during construction that limits how much erosion can take place. They also have that post-construction stormwater requirements. So the stuff that's in here, even though this ordinance applies to just the county for within our right-of-way, there's other agencies here like La Crescent, City of La Crescent have very, very similar language in theirs. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal is that these big developments can't come in, just dump a bunch of water onto someone else and create problems.
Yeah, first of all, I gotta tell everyone that I wanna thank Brian for his immediate response to come back and fix it we've owned that property for 60-some years, and we didn't really have water runoff until, they built the homes up above, and that was probably before any of those things were even thought of. And with people mowing more lawns, the water runs faster, and that's where that plus the sediment that you were concerned about. But that's why when I redid that, when we tore that pond out and filled that in, we put all those berms in to slow that down. In fact, every year I gotta, well, fix some other potholes of it, but I hope that we're good there. I don't know if maybe on the other side of the road, you had to put a little bit of rock in there just to slow the wash down because of the speed of it coming through there. You guys can watch that if we get some big rains, or I'll talk with you with it, but I don't know, does that still, the other part then is from behind our buildings, that's where the water, because, you know, the city, or, you know, they did some, I don't know, is there sewer pipes? I don't even know what's on that street. But the water runs behind us there. That's why what sparked my attention to the water runoff behind the buildings. That's where we get a lot of water coming through our.
You'd have to go to the city to talk to them about
So those, I didn't know that, Eric, but I will do that then, so. But I had the concern, I think we've got our world together on it with his response, I appreciate that. But so then this is to make sure, like if somebody does a new development, to protect, that's part of the goals, what you're saying, Brian?
Yep, so part of this is, so whenever there's anything that's gonna be, so if anyone wants to add new pipes, it's gonna dump into the county right away.
Oh, okay.
Or work within the county right that dumps out, so so the ordinance really affects water coming in or water exiting. So say that, you know, one of the businesses adjacent to a property, they start, you know, doing work outside, you know, you start having chemicals leaving, coming into the right of way, we can enforce that. Yeah, and that ditch behind you, we do have some pipes underneath our county roadways or within the county right of way that dump into that ditch. So I know that there's definitely water north of County 6 that dump across
Right,
further to
yeah.
the west of your property. So yeah, so there's a lot of work that goes in. We did add some riprap by the outlets farther to
That's good, I'm glad you
farther
did
to
that.
the west
so,
as well.
all right. Well, good. Well, thank you for your help on that, Brian. Thank you guys for your time.
Yep,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
bet.
Any more questions on the MS4?
Any more public comment?
Did you get any other feedback that you know,
Yep.
Amelia?
Yep, so there was three other, so besides for Mr. Reddy, there was three other phone calls taken. One was from My Energy. Their operations supervisor called, wanted to know how this impacts their work for applying herbicide within the county right away. They had, one resident calling, just kind of wondering what it was, the impact to them, and if there's any financial responsibilities in the future as a result of this. And then the fourth person was another individual, just curious where it would apply and how it impacts agriculture. So, you know, good feedback, good questions. There was no one that has concerns. It was more kind of just getting a better understanding of how this applies to them and what's changing.
Just need to emphasize that it's just for county roads and right-of-ways, right? It's not
Yep.
for, yep.
Yep, so, you know, agriculture, that's getting beyond the MS4 limit. You know, that's really not impacted by this ordinance because this ordinance is strictly limited to that urbanized area. The financial responsibilities and how it really impacts, you know, people, it's not a financial, let's make sure that people aren't, creating nuisances and problems by dumping, you know, chemicals and stuff like that. And then applying herbicides, you know, within that area. For the most part, it doesn't prohibit using herbicides, but what it does, it kind of puts in there that you're applying them in accordance with the state requirements, which generally are gonna match what's on the directions of the chemicals themselves, that, you know, if it's, you know, keeping the chemicals, you know, away from water, if it's not an aquatic approved herbicide, you know, not spraying when it's gonna be raining, you know, at least within that typical time frame and stuff. So, you know, there's nothing that's major that's typically not done elsewhere, so.
And it's, as you mentioned earlier, Brian, it's because La Crescent's part of this urbanized section of that, because of the proximity to La Crosse,
Yeah.
not the rest of the county.
Yep, correct, yes, just that La Crescent area, and we're one of only two essentially rural counties in the state. The other is, Clay County, because of, Fargo. The other ones are all, you know, Olmsted County with Rochester and the metro counties and Duluth, you know, with St. Louis County and over in Stearns County with St. Cloud.
And this is strictly the enforcement of this or oversight is provided by the county, not the city, is that correct? Or in,
Yep, so the city
For our part.
provides oversight for within the right of way. If it's coming from outside the right of way, then the city has their enforcement. So there's been a lot of collaboration in the past where, you know, it's just county's jurisdiction, it's just cities. A lot of times it's ultimately, it ends up being on the city side, and we just, you know, notify the city and work with them, and then they handle it from there.
okay. Want to make sure there's collaboration and an agreement there.
I think most people are pretty good at picking up their dog poo along the right of way.
Definitely way better now than it was 30+ years ago.
Go up here on Main Street.
For dumping.
We've got that handled.
You got that talent finally? Boy,
Could be better, it's not perfect yet, but.
We're getting there.
get enough complaints about dog poop on people's shoes or what?
There's a time and a place for that.
And that's not here.
Right.
Any more questions for Brian?
Make a motion to come out of public hearing.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to come out of the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carries.
Thanks, Brian. Brian?
Thanks, Brian. Thank you, guys. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Anybody got any questions or anything they want to talk about there before we make a motion to okay it?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Oh, motion carries, and we have no action items. Coordinator updates.
Yeah, just a few things, kind of want to run through some, just a couple of these reminders. June 16th, there'll be a public hearing here at the Houston County Commissioners Room. This will be involved to amend the current peddler ordinance. There'd be ordinance number 13. There are some changes that were made to the peddler's ordinance. There's a public notice out. You can read what those changes are. And then also on June 16th, we're going to have another public hearing. This purpose is considered changing the current on or off sale 3-2 beer and wine license. And this would be for the La Crescent Snowmobile Club. So that'll also be for June 16th. Looking forward to
Pine Creek also.
Yes.
Is it Pine Creek?
It says Pine Creek Golf
Creek
Course
Golf
as well
Course.
as the La Crescent Snowmobile Club.
There's two.
And then also looking for next week for our work session. We're going to have some individuals here interested about the old jail that will kind of have a presentation or something, or kind of talk about the status of the old jail and what they would like to do with it, and if there's anything the county would be willing to partner with them. Also, kind of some things about strategic plan. I know we had that one work session that got canceled that one day, so those items will be brought back up for talk about strategic planning and kind of future forecasting. Yesterday, we did meet or go to AMC District 9 meeting in Casson, which was really good, a lot of good information with other county administrators and some commissioners that were there. One thing that we talked about is board operating procedures that was kind of brought up, and talking about how makes that efficient as far as like how do you get things on the agenda, talk about how committees work and so forth and so on. So I might throw that on there as well to kind of talk about that. The majority, if not all of the counties that were up there had them and were utilizing them, so we can talk about that as well at that next work session. After this meeting, we were supposed to have a meeting on the finance, centralized finance. If you remember, there was a few months ago or last fall, the board put together a committee for restructuring committee to look at restructuring some things. So that plan was to have it happen after this meeting today to look at, we had, through our process with Public Health and Human Services, becoming their own departments, there was a finance team that was gonna get wrapped up with, Carol under finance, and so trying to figure out what that looks like, how that operates, and then also, duties and things of that nature. So that was gonna happen after this meeting at 10 o'clock. That's all that I have.
Okay. We had an airport meeting last Thursday. We got everything ironed out there. I don't think, I didn't go to the planning commission, so I don't know nothing about that, so that's about all I got.
I have too much out of the ordinary. I actually had a couple calls on that MS4. One of them was Mr. Reddy there down the road from me. Trying to address that well, so. That's all I got.
Okay.
ECB on Monday. Public Health, Public Services meeting, and then regular meeting. And our joint health meeting went well. I left early. Appointment, so that's all I got.
Eric?
Yeah, at our joint Board of Health meeting last Tuesday, we went over the proposed ordinance on flavored tobacco. I strongly encourage the rest of you guys that weren't there to look at that. And read what's all in there and what, you know, stuff that's in blue we can take out, but I think it's something we all should seriously look at and consider it, and it'll come up again at our next meeting. But it's an important ordinance that is being considered, so,
Just to take away the flavors or whatever it is?
yeah. There's health reasons. Public health has a lot of concerns, so.
And a lot of good points.
Yep. Yeah, I went to the meeting yesterday in Casson. It's a very good meeting. It's kind of interesting when you talk to the other counties or listen to the other counties, what they're going through or what they're struggling with. It's kind of like the same thing as we have, so we're not alone in our some of our issues or struggles. But it was a good meeting. I thought it was a lot of good information. And I always like to go to those because you can talk to the other counties and see what's going on, so. And then, yeah, I had a planning commission meeting last Thursday night too, so I think that stuff will be coming before us on the 16th, I believe. Yeah. That's all I got.
Anything else? Yeah, just to reiterate what Eric said, on the public health proposed changes in the tobacco ordinance, we're actually working with Fillmore County because the Joint Board of Health was looking at that. So we'll have our own ordinances is what we're proposing, but just some of the key areas because of the changes and what has been brought out for youth being enticed by flavored tobacco and any of the devices that are sold and used to possibly not have a bit more restriction on that to increase the health of youth and everyone in our area, and then also just to set some guidelines for the future, since we've had a lot of tobacco shops, retail pop up as well. So, and I thought that was a good discussion, but yeah, there's a lot of detail in that ordinance. So I think the community input from Public Health Group will be looking at that, and then it'll come back to that board and then eventually to our joint board and then eventually to this board. It's more the process for that. I too attended the district meeting, which is always good because the Association of Minnesota Counties helps guide that. And so they kind of lead our discussion on what's not only the counties in our district, but what also is happening throughout the state, and kind of the norms that the counties have when they're holding meetings or, just committees or anything like that. It's a very important forum. It is interesting, and I learn a lot from other counties, which is what predominantly there's county commissioners there and some administrative staff. And so just the input on what works and what doesn't is very helpful from their standpoint. And then also the legislative update was incredibly important because they have legislative coordinators that attend the sessions in St. Paul and understand what some of the bills are and what they contain. So then they can give us that information so we understand what's actually behind the title of the bill or the name of the bill, which is important as well. And I think that's about it for my meetings. Thanks.
Okay. Well, if everybody's got their reports all done, we'll go to closing public comment. Anybody here want to have anything to say? All right, I guess we'll have to enter. You want to do the reminders, Brett?
You just did.
Yep.
Pretty much,
He went over
pretty
them.
much all done with it, aren't you?
Yep.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion, got a motion and a second to adjourn. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
We're good.
Oh, I missed it.